Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us virtually for the ACLU of Kentucky's 2020 Reproductive Freedom Project benefit. My name is Michelle Hayes. I'm a legal fellow at the ACLU of Kentucky, and I'm honored to serve as your hostess this evening. The Reproductive Freedom Project is one of our favorite events each year. We love being in community with you, catching up over some really great food, and dancing to some really good music. While we can't physically be together this year, we decided to put together a really special program that we hope captures some of that spirit. As always, we are so grateful for our sponsors that have made this evening possible. Year 2020 has brought about a lot of frustration, heartbreak, and loss. So before we begin this year's celebration, I would really like to take a moment and have a moment of silence for those that we've lost this year. The people who inspired us to lead movements, create change, believe in the beauty and strength within ourselves, and press forward to create a future that we have yet to see. Breonna Taylor, we honor you. John Lewis, we honor you. C.T. Vivian, we honor you. Chadwick Boseman, we honor you. John Prine, we honor you. And Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we honor you. May they all rest in power. Thank you. Now, before we begin, we do have a bit of housekeeping rules. So first up, you are watching this through a Zoom webinar. That means two things, folks, okay? Your camera is off, which means nobody can see you, and you're all muted, which means nobody can hear you. So tonight, when you hear our performers, feel free to sing along, dance, nobody can see you. But I must say, I cannot guarantee that you will not catch me dancing when we come back on. I just want to put that out there. We do encourage you, however, to use our chat function tonight to give our artists love throughout the whole show. We really want them to feel the love tonight. So please make sure that when you use our chat function, that your chat is set to panelist attendees in the bottom right-hand screen. We may not be able to get to all of your questions tonight, but Charlene will be happy to follow up with you if you have any questions about the information that you hear tonight. So please use the link in the chat below to donate throughout the program. Now, back to the fun stuff for this year's event. Our event theme this year is Resistance to Resilience. As we live through this incredible moment where we find ourselves navigating a health pandemic and racial reckoning, we've had to summon up strength that we didn't know we quite had. Many of you joining us tonight have been those that have been in the streets saying Breonna Taylor's name and demanding an end to police violence. Many of you have been delving into our country's history and examining how you benefit from white supremacy. The ACLU of Kentucky staff has been fighting alongside allies to ban no-knock warrants, protect the rights of peaceful protesters, advocate for the most vulnerable facing COVID-19, and we're looking internally at the ways we ourselves struggle with racism and white supremacy culture within our organization. Folks, none of this work is easy, but the work is necessary if we want a more equitable future for us all. Tonight, you're going to get updates from several of my colleagues on the ACLU of Kentucky's reproductive freedom work. You're also going to hear from some incredible Kentucky artists. I really hope you all are ready. We have lined up Appalatin, poet Tytianna Wells, Tyrone Cotton, and drumroll please, Hannah Drake. So please settle in for the next couple of hours. I would say kick your feet up, but you're probably gonna get up and dance the same way I am. But please enjoy our show and please enjoy our event tonight. To kick us off, here is the ACLU of Kentucky's Executive Director, Michael Aldridge.
The ACLU of Kentucky Reproductive Freedom Project is 31 years old this year, and we have a long history of fighting for abortion access in the Kentucky General Assembly, and when the legislature goes too far, fighting in the courts for access. Like so many movements in our nation's history, from women's suffrage to LGBT rights, the reproductive freedom movement has largely been a white, cisgender-led movement. It's time for us to right our wrongs by facing systemic racism, access to abortion care, birth control access, over-incarceration that separates families, police violence, ICE, and so much more. While we'll always fight for access to safe and legal abortions, we know that doesn't encompass the full breadth of decisions when people are thinking about their reproductive health. We've recently worked to secure accommodations for pregnant workers, and we're working to extend parental and medical leave statewide. We're also working on bipartisan legislation that will address reproductive care for incarcerated and postpartum or pregnant and postpartum incarcerated peoples, because our work doesn't live in silos. Justice reform is the second most, the biggest project for the ACLU of Kentucky, and that means justice for incarcerated and postpartum individuals. Adjusting our work from a reproductive rights frame to a reproductive justice lens means recognizing that this work needs to be centered on Black and brown communities. And to do that, we really have to develop authentic relationships within those communities, which means it's really important for this work to be led by Black women. You'll hear soon from Jackie McGranahan, our RFP policy strategist, and the Reproductive Freedom Network that she's established statewide. These are mostly rural voices whose voices we have added to the work in Frankfort. Her partner on many of these efforts is our legal fellow and our host today, Michela Hayes. Shay started with us as an intern in 2017, went to law school, and then became a legal fellow for If, When, How in Pittsburgh, and came back to us after that. At If, When, How, she focused on high-impact litigation around equal access to reproductive health care, challenging sex and gender discrimination, and advocating for state and federal reproductive justice policies. She brings this knowledge and expertise to our Reproductive Freedom Project, and it really accentuates Jackie's public education efforts. I'm really proud of Shay and Jackie's work with our allies at the Kentucky Health Justice Network for this year's Take Root Conference, which is coming up really soon, and it will center a red state perspective on reproductive justice. We chose the theme Resistance and Resilience this year to reflect what we're all living through. These themes are not new to any of you. Once again, we find ourselves fighting for abortion access and control of reproductive health amid a racial awakening in our country. It's time that we acknowledge these issues are interconnected and work together to see justice prevail. I'd like to thank everybody who's supported the Reproductive Freedom Project over these last 31 years, and especially like Christy Brown this year, who issued a $30,000 match, which has made a significant difference in the money we've been able to raise to support this work. I'd also like to recognize the Joan and Lee Thomas Endowment, which was established in their honor to support reproductive rights, and the Educational Foundation of America, a major nationwide foundation that is giving sustaining support. Also, throughout this broadcast, you'll see the names of everybody who stepped up to support this year. If you see them out and about, please thank them, because this work cannot go on without their contributions.
Thank you so much, Michael, for those remarks and for my introduction. As you all heard, we still have a great fight ahead of us tonight and for the future, but we are ready to get ready. Get up out of your seats. Go ahead and stretch out a little bit if you haven't been, if you've been at work all day in your seat, because Appalatin is getting ready to perform right here live. Their foot-stomping, hip-swinging sounds organically unite Appalatin folk and high-energy Latin music. The name Appalatin reflects the unexpected meeting in Louisville of Kentucky-raised musicians and masterful Latin immigrants from Ecuador, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. They're all acoustic performance of traditional strings, guitar, mandolin, up bass, and indigenous flutes, hand percussion, harmonica, and vocal harmonies have brought joy and happiness to listeners listeners of all ages. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Appalatin.
Thank you. Thank you. Mujer hay niños. Eso, Fernando, thank you. Vale, línea. Otro lado de la línea hay un corazón. Thank you, everybody.
I'm Jackie McGranahan. I'm a policy strategist with the ACLU of Kentucky, and welcome to the Reproductive Freedom Celebration. This is a year of tremendous growth and change, not just here in Kentucky, but everywhere. We're living through a health pandemic, and this is worldwide, and there's also a bright light shining on the systemic racism across the country. These issues are very, very personal to me, and I'm going to take a second to tell you a little bit about myself and also the work that we're doing here at the ACLU of Kentucky to combat these issues. I grew up in the easternmost part of the state. When you keep going all the way down 64, I'm the last stop right before you get to West Virginia. And I grew up poor, black, in a very rural area. So I've always known racism. I've seen it all of my life. Being black is who I am. It's in my skin, my hair, my bones, my blood. It's who I am. And now there's a national outcry against the systemic violence, the brutalization, mass incarceration of black people across the country. While black men and boys are often centered in the conversation, and that cannot be ignored, you also cannot ignore the plight of the black woman. There is a long, hidden history of the ways that reproductive freedom has been denied to black women, not just here in Kentucky, but across the country. Black women have been working toward reproductive freedom since the beginning of the fight, and a lot of times they have not been included. And they have not been included in the long history, and they have not been included in the work. Here at the ACLU of Kentucky, we're taking a moment to bring this group back to the table. And I'm trying to highlight what we are trying to do here at the ACLU of Kentucky to make a difference. The ACLU of Kentucky is committed to better outcomes for people who are pregnant and incarcerated. The current legislation that we're working on would expand access to substance use disorder treatment while you are pregnant. And this would get the pregnant person who is currently incarcerated out of jail so they can have their baby in a hospital and be in a treatment center, so after they have their baby, they can hold their baby, they can take their baby home, learn how to be a parent, and get help with the root cause of the problem, and that is substance use disorder. We're also working to end solitary confinement for pregnant persons who are incarcerated, because solitary confinement is inhumane. It's inhumane for anyone, and a good first step is ending it for pregnant people. We're also looking for expanded definitions of prenatal and postpartum care. There is little justice in the criminal justice system for Black people. And while we often focus on our Black brothers, fathers, sons, cousins, Black women suffer too. And I am living proof. I am a formerly incarcerated Black woman striking a new journey in life. And my story is one that's filled with redemption, ridicule, sexual assault, abuse, trauma, you name it. And I rose above it, not in spite of what happened to me, not because of it, because the criminal justice system didn't offer me any avenues toward rehabilitation. My story is not an isolated incident. There are lots of people like me and lots of people with similar stories, and that's why these issues are so personal. When I fight, I'm not just fighting because it's the right thing to do. I'm fighting because there are people that we left behind, and there are people that are still there who are counting on us to get this right. I've met with several allied organizations across the state, and we've been building this network where we're creating a safe space where folks and their families can talk about abortions, birth control, incarceration, pregnancy. They can talk about all of these things, domestic violence, in a safe and comfortable environment. And it's successful. It's working. It's working. Our hope is that these conversations continue and that they change the narrative and the stigma around abortion in Kentucky. Our work does not end with pregnancy and incarceration. Another issue at the center of our reproductive freedom work is maternal mortality. Maternal mortality is a health crisis, not just here in Kentucky, but everywhere in the United States. We are literally disbelieving Black women to death. The National Partnership for Women's Health and Families did a study, and it showed that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth or the immediate time thereafter than white women. 3 to 4 times more likely, even with equal economic standing, equal education. That is not mattering. It is simply a matter of race. We are addressing this on the policy front by continuing to work on the Maternal Care Act of Kentucky. This bill seeks to end racial disparities in healthcare by doing these things. First, by providing access to a doula that would be reimbursed through Medicaid. With more than 50% of Kentuckians using Medicaid as their form of insurance, this would have a dramatic effect on pregnancies. Another aspect is the implicit bias piece to the bill. We are also working to expand paid medical leave to more Kentuckians, to make parental and family leave a reality across the Commonwealth. That's such a game changer. In addition to all of our proactive legislation that we're working on this year with the Reproductive Freedom Project, we will also always stay vigilant to resist the attacks from the Kentucky General Assembly against abortion access here in Kentucky. When the protests slow and the social media posts become fewer and fewer, the ACLU of Kentucky will still be fighting. We have started this journey internally, finding ways that we could be more equitable and diverse so we can really live our values. It has not been easy, but the work is necessary and we are committed to it. Together, we will build a brighter future with safe and healthy families of all ethnicities, sexual orientations, religions, gender identities, so everyone can have free and equal treatment in our home, the place we call Kentucky.
Whew. I don't know about you all, but I did 2 things during our 2 transitions. One, thank you so much, Appalatin. I saw the comments. Everybody, thank you so much for showing our performers love. Like, as we do these things virtually, it really does mean a lot to us and to them, I'm sure. So while they were playing, I did a very smart thing, you all. I put on my Apple Watch because we could be counting calories. Yes, so if you have been working all day like me or just sitting down, put on your Apple Watch, your Fitbit, you could be counting calories. So thank you so much, Appalatin, for that joyful musical experience. I know I definitely needed it, and I know everybody on the call did as well. And thank you so much to my colleague, Jackie, for that reproductive freedom update on our advocacy work. It is truly a blessing and an honor to be able to work alongside her and do that amazing work. Thank you for your testimony and your ongoing leadership as we continue to make Kentucky a better place for everybody. All right, so I hope you all ready. Take a deep breather. I want everybody to relax. Just take a deep breath in and relax and exhale, because up next we have a very soulful performer coming. Poet Tytianna Nakia Maria Wells. She was born in Detroit, Michigan, and was raised in Louisville, Kentucky, in the west and south side of the city. She is one who has truly beaten the odds. Tatiana launched her first business as CEO and founder of Honey Tree Publishing, LLC, in 2013. She is an author and illustrator of the children's book series, Sweet Pea and Sugar Tea's Country Family Adventures, a collection of African-American poems. She is also the author of The Healing Tree, a book of poetry, poise, meditation, and affirmations. The Bridge Kids, an African heritage family activity book, and When Hip Hop Met Poetry, an urban love story, a memoir, song, and short film. Tatiana is a PhD candidate in curriculum and instruction at the University of Louisville's College of Education and Human Development. Her research explores the history of independent Black schools and the emergence of the Black homeschool movement in the United States. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Tytianna Wells.
Hello, everyone. I will be sharing some selected pieces from my book, When Hip Hop Met Poetry, an urban love story. It's a true story about my life. Routine doctor visits. Although I believed in myself, as I got further along in the pregnancy, I realized that many others didn't. This cognizance was mostly visible during routine doctor appointments. After several visits, we quickly noticed that many of the nurses and doctors in the office didn't treat us as nicely and fairly in comparison to other pregnant women who were either white, married, or had top-of-the-line health insurance. I was a Black, unmarried pregnant teenager with government-funded health insurance. Whether I was standing in the line to apply for and accept federal assistance for low-income pregnant women or waiting to be seen by the baby doctor, I could feel the stares of the white office staff, who checked me in with stony faces that lacked any sign of compassion. Their prejudiced stare said everything their lips wouldn't. It was subliminal and between the lines of their monotone voices and scripted answers as they looked down at my belly with judgment. I was just another Black teen in their eyes and locked in their minds as one of those kind of girls. I was nothing to them. It was evident by the way they treated us that the healthcare industry was yet another unjust system. It was a painful reality to face. If only I could tell them that I was an honor roll student who planned the pregnancy with my boyfriend at the time, but they wouldn't care even if I bothered. I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs to anyone who would listen to my truth. However, in reality, even though it was a planned pregnancy, I knew deep down inside it wasn't the best decision. It was just the only option that Rashad and I could think of to keep us together. Mother's intuition. May 18th, I felt a weight in my stomach that I hadn't felt before. That morning, after going into the bathroom and noticing spotting, I told Mama and she immediately called the doctor's office. To make sure everything was okay, Mama spoke to the on-call nurse to schedule an ultrasound. The woman on the phone was the same nurse from our routine appointments who we previously had problems with. The nurse spoke lacking any sign of compassion or empathy as usual. Well, she has been coming here a lot lately and has an appointment scheduled for later this evening, replied the nurse. Maybe you all should just wait to come in. Mama's tone became blunt as she said, she needs to be seen this morning and we just want to make sure the baby is fine. Put her on the speakerphone, I whispered, annoyed by the nurse. I want to hear. I was tired of this woman and how she always disregarded me and my baby. She didn't seem to have a compassionate bone in her body, and I was proved right when the nurse said that famous line that all expecting mothers hate to hear when they're worried about their unborn child. She needs to just try to get some rest. Try to get some rest, I repeated in my regular voice, stunned by her careless response to an emergency. I was pissed, and Mama was too. Well, my daughter is not feeling well, and we are concerned about the baby, explained Mama. She saw blood when she went to the bathroom, and that's why we're worried. It's not normal for a pregnant woman to be bleeding like that. She needs to have an ultrasound. Does she have her blue and pink belts? We can't find them, my mother explained. She was becoming angry. Due to past visits to the hospital, we were told by hospital staff that in order to have an ultrasound, a specific type of belts was needed for the monitor. However, we couldn't find those belts anywhere and thought it would be likely that they could be easily replenished by the hospital. Needless to say, we didn't expect the nurse's response. I can't do the ultrasound without those belts, said the nurse. Mama, trying her best to hold her cool, snapped back. So you're telling me that you can't give an emergency ultrasound without those two belts? I couldn't take it anymore. Just forget it, I said, completely fed up. Just hang up the phone. Walking back into my room, I couldn't believe that they would deny a pregnant woman an emergency ultrasound because of some belts that they probably had a whole stock of in the hospital. I was livid. This isn't fair, I thought, walking back into the bathroom to conduct another self-examination. This isn't right. I checked to see if the bleeding had stopped and hoped for a different outcome, but immediately saw blood again. Fearful, I told Mama, and she made a few other phone calls to the doctor's office, but they all said the same thing, like a broken record. We can't do the ultrasound without those belts. Silence. I remember like it was yesterday. We arrived at the hospital with the red luggage bag prepared for labor and delivery at the hospital. My hands were achy and those faithful grasshoppers leaped in my belly, an overpowering reminder of love growing inside of me. Massaging my hands together to calm my nerves, I lied back on the table and lifted my shirt to hear my daughter's heartbeat. This was my favorite part of having a prenatal checkup. This is it. We'll finally get to see her, I thought. She'll be in our arms soon. We couldn't wait to see Nakia. The doctor squeezed a glob of blue jelly into his gloved hand, rubbed it on my stomach, and pressed the heart monitor against my skin, rotating it in a circular motion. However, as we waited a couple of minutes for the sound of a pulsating heartbeat, an overwhelming silence filled the room. Something's wrong with the monitor, explained the doctor, tapping it in his hand. Let me try a different one. I tried my best not to worry as the nurse brought in a second monitor. Silence. No heartbeat. The damage was done. That morning, I moved to the maternity ward with Nakia in my arms. As I held her for the last final moments, Mama briefly stepped out of the room, leaving me and my baby alone to bond. While Mama was outside of the room, she walked down the hallway, and there stood the nurse from the doctor's office, who refused to do the ultrasound because we had misplaced the pink and blue belts. Mama approached the nurse in the hallway with a straight face. The nurse recognized her. Oh, I remember you, the nurse said, emotionless. How's your daughter doing? Mama's eyes were ice cold as she stared at her, but her voice was warm. She's fine, replied Mama. She had the baby. Silence filled the space between them. Mama continued. You want to go see her? Yeah, she replied the nurse. Come down here, Mama said, guiding her down the hallway to the room. I can't wait to see her, said the nurse. She'll be glad to see you, replied Mama. When the nurse walked into the room, she was stunned. What happened? She asked. The baby is stillborn, said Mama calculatedly. She didn't make it. My daughter's really hurt. It's going to be a while before she recovers from this. The nurse looked at me, holding Nakia in my arms without saying a word, but Mama had something else to say. You know what? Asked Mama, turning to the nurse. Maybe if you were a little nicer that day and would have given her those belts for the ultrasound, maybe we could have caught this in time. The nurse's eyes grew the size of 2 golf balls as she put her hands against her distraught face, cried, and ran out of the room into the hallway, knocking stuff over. But the damage had already been done. The pain had been caused and a life had been taken. The room sat quiet. It would take many years for the raw wound to be sealed and healed. 15 years ago today, from the city bus window, my hopes and dreams and plans are all growing inside of me. I am pregnant. I hide things under my skin. Embryo kicks my eyes open. Fetus hiccups during math tests. Lecture class about my plans to tell my story. But I'm embarrassed. Shame grips my baby waist. This child is innocent from the things that make me human. Child don't deserve to repent. Baby fingers and toes press and push against the silent earth inside me. For loud noise I can't hear yet is a long revealing lesson I must soon face. This one gonna be tough, they say. I clutched this child in my womb, want her to see the mother she belongs to. Carried her 9 months warm breathing, held her 4 days cold breathless. It's the birthday of another child somewhere in the world. Breast throb and pull from a body that wasn't prepared to be a mother just so soon. Heart pours from new and unfamiliar vacant pores, but I must smile, hug, and thank the people who brought flowers to the funeral and filled the water pitcher, and prepare for all that I am and to become. Daughter, author, writer, teacher, artist, sister. But at the end of the day, I am all that the Lord would have me to be. So 15 years ago today, I tell that girl whose face is illuminated in the city bus window, whose hopes and dreams and plans are all growing inside of her. Don't you dare give up now. It's gonna be tough, but so are you. This chapter is named for you and other sisters. Breathe life into your story. Breathe what has yet to be told. Each page of your life story speaks volumes, what has yet to be written into stone. That memory was a mountain of highs, of lows. Those mountains I thought would break me. Those mountains that shaped me into the woman I am today, see. I am not the silence in an empty and lonely room that I once existed in. Memories inflicted upon me, etched into the outline of this book. But the binding is strong and relentless, and thank God my cover does not look the way strangers and people who claim they love me misused and abused me. Thank God I do not look like what I have been through. I am a survivor, resilient, warrior, conqueror, spirit of fortitude and perseverance. This chapter is named for you and other sisters. It was named for the passages that are yet to be written, words left to be spoken, lines waiting to be printed, a silent story waiting. I am not my wounds, just waiting to be heard, acknowledged, respected, celebrated in the silence of all the world noise inside the core of you. Just waiting is the very essence of truth and love and integrity and conviction inside of each one of you. Breath rising from my lungs is a testimony that I still exist. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the times when I thought it would be my last and final, I sat awake those nights counting the seconds. I didn't know if I would make it, thought that I was finished, thought that I was done, but I lived and I made it and I am here. And yes, it hurts, but all wounds heal. Each and every masterpiece as I masterpiece in me, as I collect all the pieces that were meant to break me. Every fragmented version of myself in a shattered mirror can reflect 1,000 stories in its time. My story has yet to be written, and when the time comes, I will be ready. They say the strongest hearts have the most scars, and it's true. Life lessons are everything that you go through. I can't tell you that it won't be tough, that it will always be easy, that life won't get hard, but what I can tell you is those life lessons are not only for you. This is for the next woman who bears scars of her own, the woman who continues to heal too. Understand that tough situations build strong people. Turn pain into passion. Turn purpose into struggle. Your purpose turns struggle into strength. Yes, you are afraid. Do it anyway. Yes, you are exhausted. Do it anyway. Give your best anyway. Love anyway. Forgive anyway. Breathe anyway, because you'll never know whose story is yet to be written. I wasn't ready for what happened. I wasn't ready for what I had been through, but I learned from the trauma and I survived through the tragedy. And there is one thing that I know for sure. We are given a life that we are strong enough to survive, and I am still here, breathing, to write the next chapter, the next book, the next masterpiece, whole and complete, healing and growing. I am becoming me. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, everyone, I just need everybody to just fill the chat with snaps. I just need nothing but snaps. It is tradition that when you hear soulful, powerful poetry in the way in which Tatiana just gave us tonight, you give them snaps. Thank you so much, Tatiana. I'm trying to keep my composure, but thank you for welcoming us into your journey of healing, strength, and courage. Thank you so, so very much. May your story and your journey continue to inspire all those who hear it. I cannot thank you enough. Like, ooh, I think we all just need a second to just reminisce in that moment. Whew. Okay. I once again want to thank our sponsors, thank our participants, all of our attendees tonight for making this evening so lively, and creating this spirit that truly binds us together. If you haven't had a chance to make a donation to our reproductive freedom work, you can do so now. We just dropped the link in the chat. Thank you all so very much for all of your support as we do this work. We cannot do this without you. So now we will hear an update from Staff Attorney Heather Gatnerick.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Gatnerick, staff attorney with the ACLU of Kentucky, and I'm so excited to join you for our annual Reproductive Freedom Benefit, even if it looks a little different than we're used to. I'll be giving you an update on our legal docket, as well as discussing some things that might be coming down the pike. So for the first time since I've been with the ACLU of Kentucky, we did not have to file a new challenge to an anti-abortion law this year. And truthfully, we probably have the COVID pandemic to thank for that. The 2020 General Assembly was cut short due to coronavirus concerns. And that meant that the number of anti-abortion laws that the General Assembly had introduced, most of them did not make it past the finish line. There were two laws, the so-called Born Alive Protection Act and the Attorney General Power Grab Bill, that the General Assembly did pass on the very, very last night of the session. However, those were passed after the governor's veto override period had passed, and so Governor Beshear's veto of those laws did stand. So, because the General Assembly did not pass a patently unconstitutional abortion law this year, we did not have to file a new case after the General Assembly. Which is fine, because, as you'll hear, we still have plenty of work cut out for us. Many of you listening will be very familiar with these cases. The longest running, of course, is our challenge to the state's requirement that abortion clinics have transfer agreements with local hospitals and transport agreements with local ambulance companies. We challenged that law back in March of 2017. We won before a trial in the district court that same year, and the state at the time appealed to the Sixth Circuit. Oral arguments were heard in that case last August of 2019, which means that we're waiting over a year for the court's decision, but we do believe that we should be hearing somewhat shortly. During the 2018 legislative session, the General Assembly passed a law that would have banned the most common second trimester abortion procedure called a D&E, or dilation and evacuation, which would have essentially banned abortion in Kentucky after about 15 weeks of pregnancy. We challenged that law right away, and again, we had a trial in the district court that we won with a court's decision in May of 2019. Following oral arguments in January of this year, the Sixth Circuit issued an opinion in June agreeing that the law was unconstitutional and should be struck down. Technically, the state can appeal that decision to the U.S. Supreme Court, but we're optimistic that this case is nearing the end and our providers will, of course, be able to continue providing that care. The most recent of our cases is a challenge that we filed last year in the middle of the 2019 General Assembly, and that case challenges two anti-abortion laws at once. One is a ban on abortion based on the patient's reason for the procedure, and the other one is a ban on abortion after approximately 6 weeks of pregnancy or about the time fetal cardiac activity can be detected. We challenged both of those laws together, and they have not been in effect while the case is pending in the district court. The case is still in early stages of litigation, and for those of you who enjoy getting down into the weeds of legal procedure, you might recall that Judge Hale held this case in abeyance pending the Sixth Circuit's en banc decision in the Ohio Down syndrome ban case. That en banc panel argument was held in March of this year. Although we have not had to file any new cases this year, we've still been plenty busy. Part of the reason for that is we have been dealing with a new aspect of these cases, which is that Attorney General Daniel Cameron has been trying to intervene in all of our pending matters. So far, he's been met with mixed success. That motion was denied in the D&E case, granted in the TRAP case, and it's still pending in the reason ban 6-week ban case. This is both frustrating and troublesome. It's frustrating because, as folks will recall, the attorneys on these cases are normally executive branch attorneys from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services and occasionally the governor's office. The Attorney General's office has not been a player in the litigation. Now, in addition to the attorneys from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services and the governor's office, we are having to deal with additional attorneys from the Attorney General's office trying to intervene. It will make the litigation much more contentious and difficult than we had previously been hoping for under this administration. This is also troubling because, as you've heard from Jackie, the General Assembly has been considering a bill that would actually expand the Attorney General's powers to enforce certain laws and regulations against the abortion providers. As if we need any further evidence of AG Cameron's hostility to abortion care, which these intervention motions certainly provide, this law would give him the ability to initiate actions against abortion providers. For many reasons, we have to work hard to prevent this. I know that my advocacy colleagues, Jackie and Kate Miller, will be calling on you in the weeks to come, and I hope that you'll connect with them to fight back against this attack on reproductive freedom. As you can see, even without filing a new case this year, we're as busy as ever. This is hard work, and we fight really uphill battles. Of course, we cannot do it without your support, so I thank you so very much for allowing us to do this incredibly important work.
Thank you so much, Heather, for that legal update. Everybody, please make sure that you follow the ACLU of Kentucky's website, our social media pages for updates as they happen in all of the cases that Heather mentioned tonight. I do just want to take a short time just to tell you all more about my experience in working in the reproductive rights field and why I continue to do this work. It's really, really hard, and it is trying times. Nothing has been more of a testament of this than 2020, right? But one of the things that has really come to light in these trying times is all of the voices that we have been able to lift up, all of the lives that we have been able to impact. Though I'm on the legal team, I am able to work with Jackie on some of the advocacy work, and there is like truly no better way to combine the love that we have to see people live their better lives, to live their best lives, and the passion that I have for the legal field. Of course, as I worked in Pittsburgh and I came back to Kentucky, I want to let you all know, going up, going down, going side to side, abortion looks the same, unfortunately. There was a joke in Pennsylvania where they literally called Pennsylvania Pensucky, and they literally said it's because it's the area between Kentucky and Pennsylvania. That's what this space is. So being able to come back home and do this work was very, very meaningful to me. And of course, I come to this work with a reproductive justice lens. And I'm so grateful that as an organization, we're really starting to think very intentionally about what that means. So as we think about the reproductive rights field, that means that we do start lifting up other voices. Hearing statements and testaments and journeys like the ones that Tatiana mentioned in her piece tonight, those are the stories that we should be lifting up. Those are the stories that have never been heard, have been highlighted. And as an organization like the ACLU, with as much power and as much strength as we have the means to do that. We have the means to lift up so many people and instill hope. When people see the ACLU of Kentucky, they see hope. That's what they see in us. And that gives me hope to keep pushing, because somebody sees hope in me. Somebody sees a future that has yet to come. Somebody sees a policy change that has yet to come. I don't know about you all, but I was so very excited when we got those 3 great Supreme Court decisions. It was the best thing. I cried when the DACA decision came down because I went to high school with someone who was a DACA student. So I cried because she was the first person I thought of. That's the type of meaningful work that we do. one of the things that I do is I have Post-it notes. And I hope that you all think of something that you all can do to kind of help you all on your really tough days too. But I have Post-it notes that literally where I've just jot down powerful or meaningful things that happen in work. I might not come up with one every day, but some days I'm able to come up with 3 or 5. And then when the Supreme Court decision came, I was like writing every single one down and I post it. So on days when I'm like, why, how am I going to make this? How am I going to make this work? What am I going to do? I look at those Post-it notes and I remind myself of the work that Jackie's doing. I remind myself of all the hard work that me and Heather have been doing around abortion in the legal, on the legal field. I think about that our clinic is still open, like ENW is still open. They're still seeing patients. I was able to actually talk to folks who were actually going into some of the clinics in Pittsburgh and work in the judicial bypass work there. And it's so meaningful to see how young people, how they feel, how thankful and grateful that they are that somebody just trusted them enough to make a decision that was best for them. And I know it gets hard when you continue to hear the same narratives over and over of the opposite view, but there are people who truly, truly do appreciate the work that we do. They appreciate that we trust them to make the decisions that are best for them if, when, and how they want to parent. So if at any point you ever need a motivation, you need like a pickup, you need a reminder of why am I doing this, please reach out to me, Jackie. I'm sure one of us will be happy to, or Heather, I'm sure either, anybody at the ACLU would be happy to tell you some of the things that have really given us joy as we continue to do this work, because we know that it's hard. And we always tell you so much, thank you for your support that you pour into us, but we want to pour back into you all too. So we really, truly hope that in the same ways that we're able to see the people and all the folks that we impact in doing this work, that you all start feeling that love too. And if there's anything we can do to make that possible, please, please let us know. So now, I hope you all ready, because we have another musical performer. Tyrone Cotton is up next. A little bit about him. So his earliest musical revelation was listening to the raspy, inspirational voice of his grandfather, the Reverend Cleveland Roosevelt Williams, at his childhood home in Louisville, Kentucky. At a young age, Cotton began playing guitar along to the sounds of popular rock and blues. Cotton developed his own style of writing that blends soul, funk, blues, jazz, and rock and roll. He has become a staple in the Louisville music scene over the past 30 years, being well recognized for his stringing voice and lyrics. Cotton has toured throughout the United States and Japan. He is currently working on a new album with lifelong collaborator Ray Rizzo and producer Josh Kaufman, best known for his work with The National, Bob Weir, and Josh Ritter. Please join me in welcoming Tyrone Cotton.
Good evening. Oh, pirates, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from the bottom of this pit. In my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We followed this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? All I ever had, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. None of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we Won't you help to sing these songs? It's all I ever had. Redemption songs. All I ever had. These songs of freedom. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. None of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs? It's all I ever had. Redemption songs. These songs of freedom. Redemption songs. All right. You came and got me out of the storm and carried me to your door. I was rough, tattered and worn, washed away, huddle of dreams, faded echo of what could have been. The storm went on, and no one heard my cry while the night passed on by, but you stood in the rain for me. You could see what no one could see. Yeah, how could it be? Storms rage. You heard me. How could it be? The storm raging. You heard me. Yeah, you reached out for me. You reached out for me. You ran to me with open arms. Never knew anything like this. Something so warm. And all your kids, I saw it could be. Faint glimmer of a dream. Yeah, stay with me. Wanna feel your love. I'll show you mine. Stay with me. Wanna feel your love. Let you know mine. You reached out to me. You reached out for me. The storm is clearing. Bright skies are near. Music I'm hearing. I want you near me to remind me of things to be. To remind me of what could be. Right. Tune called Storm. around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life. In a world that keeps on pushing me around, stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, hey, baby, ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life. In a world that keeps on pushing me around, I'll stand my ground. And I won't back down. And I won't back down. Hey, hey, ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that soulful musical performance, Tyrone. We truly appreciate it. And I hope everybody continues to give him some love in the chat. Continue to give some applause. Thank you so very much. Now, you all, I have to be honest. You won't believe what happened. My Apple Watch died. I can't even continue to count my calories. I'm upset. It didn't even hold through the rest of the night. I feel betrayed. So now, although our time is almost up, we do have a very special event, a little extra sugar on top for you all. We are going to invite Tytianna Wells back up for a little conversation, just for a little one-on-one chat for you all. So give us a second and we are going to set this up and we hope that you all enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I don't think I can't see myself.
That's okay. I can see you. And you look great. You look great. So once again, thank you so very much for your pieces and for welcoming us into your space of healing and journey. Like, we truly cannot thank you enough.
Thank you so much. This has just been a treat. Really, it's healing for me, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity to even share my story. It took me a long time. You know, I've talked to Amber about this and Tori, and spoken with you about this, and just letting you all know that this was the first time that I actually shared that part of my story out loud. It's in a book, but I always kind of skip over those particular chapters because it just took so long for me to write, and it just took a lot of going back to the pain, you know. But I'm thankful that I'm able to tell that story, that part of the narrative, because it talks about the healthcare industry and how there is inequality, you know, and it just really is a racist issue, and it's also a sexist issue and a classist issue as well. So there's just so many different oppressions that are embedded into that experience, and can really create a larger conversation about the need to change, institutional, inherently racist institutions that are predominantly white. And it goes to show that we do need more culturally responsive trainings. We need we need better access to healthcare. And people need to be treated as human beings. This is a human rights issue. And at the core of it is the human rights issue, and it definitely needs to change. So I'm thankful for the ACLU and the work that you all are doing. I really appreciate it, and I can feel it, and I'm thankful just to be able to share my story of what I went through. So thank you for this time.
Yes, everything. I literally commend and second everything that you said. It's one of the reasons why I'm helping Jackie with the Maternal Care Act things that we're doing, because, it's your stories and thousands of other stories that people just have never heard. And it is race-based. It's something that, because they don't live it, they don't experience it, nobody in their family talks about it. It's something that's hush-hush, that it's like the world just turns their cheek, even those that do know. And there's so many historical things that go behind not believing Black women, especially of believing that Black people, especially can have higher tolerances. And that goes back into slavery that literally are showing up into today's world, which is why we are dealing with this racial reckoning that we are now, calling out those stereotypes, calling out those hypocrisies for what they are, and actually advocating for human rights, human decency and dignity in the healthcare system, right?
That's right. I mean, you have to live a life of wealthy, a wealthy health. You have to be within your own, when you think about holistic health and you think about our rights and the basic essentials of life is wellness. And you have to be healthy. And so you should have those basic, privileges. Those are privileges that everyone deserves, no matter their race, no matter their cultural background, their gender, their sexual orientation. At the bare essential, core, we all need health, and we all need the wellness piece to really speak volumes to these institutions, and we need the right people to be in these institutions to make that change. So I'm just thankful that we do have people like the team over at the ACLU, and then a lot of the affiliates in your alliance that is working with you to build those opportunities for reform, because it will take institutional reform for for those policies to change.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the work that we have been doing, honestly, has been pulling in community leaders. Like there's Black doulas all around Kentucky.
Yes.
And who would have known?
I love that.
Who would have known unless we came up with the Maternal Care Act, and to start educating people on what the Maternal Care Act is, what a doula is, and that this is even a service that people can have, how you can have an advocate to be there with you.
Absolutely.
I've had friends that have a doula, and I'm just like, I want a doula. I would love to have a doula to talk to my doctor about everything I want, so I don't have to do it.
Yes, and let me tell you, this is divine timing, because I'm the organizer for Keepers of the Torch. Mm-hmm. And we are a collective of people who are concerned about our community, and we're doing work around protection and community advocacy and education. And interestingly, we actually have an event coming up this Sunday. It's a free service that we offer every second Sunday of the month. It's through Zoom. It's called Sunday Summit. And it's actually called Know Your Birthrights. And we're going to have 2 African-American doulas and midwives on that call and sharing information about being able to be supported as a mother and being able to support Black familyhood. So I would love for you to join us. That would be, it's a Zoom. I did post it on some of my sites. So I'll actually put the flyer in our chat. Divine timing.
Yes, that sounds amazing. And I'm already calling Jackie, even though she can't jump on the screen. I'm like, Jackie, we have something to do on Sunday now. Yes, drop it in the chat. I'm sure there are other folks here who will probably want to join and hear more about this.
Yes.
You know, doulas is probably, like I said, is something that folks like hear of, but they don't really know what it means, and they don't know what that means to have a doula in Kentucky specifically.
Yeah.
And all that it is such a benefit to have an advocate for you to really think about how you want your birthing experience to be.
Yes.
And walk you through all the nooks and crannies of just being a pregnant person in the world.
Yes, being protected. Yes, protected as a mother and protecting your baby. Very important. There's a young woman, her name is Ashley Finley. She actually one of a close friend of mine, she actually wrote a manual about Black midwives, Black midwifery in Kentucky. It came out, I believe, last year. So if you're interested in learning more about some of the work that she's done on the historical context of Black midwifery in Kentucky, she actually is someone who has created a document through the Kentucky Foundation for Women. She got a grant to create that manual. So she's a great resource as well.
There you go. So you got to drop it all in the chat. We're dropping knowledge.
All that there.
Everybody's getting knowledge tonight. We're going to educate everybody.
Yes.
Well, Tatiana, thank you so much for this special preview. We love you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you all so
and
much.
thank you for this knowledge. And don't forget to drop the knowledge. We're here to educate and celebrate.
I'm going to drop it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, I hope that you were taking notes and paying attention, because we're going to learn about some doulas on Sunday. And I hope that you all are able to tune in if you are able, because doulas are an amazing benefit for pregnant people, not just in Kentucky, but across the world. So when we're talking about the Maternal Care Act, there's no better way to get this knowledge than talking to Black doulas themselves. All right. So I am a tad bit sad now, because I have to come to the reality that our time is coming to a close, you all. I have to let you all go soon. And this has been giving me such joy. And I'm sure that you all have been having a great time tonight as well. And again, I cannot thank our participants, our supporters, and our sponsors for making this night possible. Thank you all so very much for all that you have done. This work cannot be done without you all. And if you would like to donate and you haven't gotten a chance to donate again tonight, please, the link is in the chat. If you would like to make a gift, there is still time, and we appreciate all of the support that you all have given us. So I hope that you all are ready. Drum roll, please. You can put the drum roll in the chat. We're going to drum roll it. Our last artist hardly needs an introduction. Hannah L. Drake is a blogger, activist, public speaker, poet, and author of 10 books. She writes commentary on politics, feminism, and race. Hannah's message is thought-provoking and at times challenging, but Hannah believes that it is in the uncomfortable spaces that change can take place. Everybody, please join me in welcoming the infamous Hannah Drake.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the ACLU for inviting me to share some of my poetry. I will be sharing 2 pieces of poetry. The first one is Spaces, and the second piece is called Dawn. It is difficult to stand in spaces that weren't designed for me, spaces that were not created for people that look like me, spaces that scream, "You do not belong here," spaces that feel like sandpaper against my Blackness, coarse and rough and painful and uneasy, spaces that are void of signs, but still I can see them hanging in a not so distant memory, signs that separated water fountains and restaurants, blatantly reminding people that these spaces were not made for them. And although the signs no longer remain, the architecture and atmosphere is constructed in such a way that I know and we know that these are not our spaces. We are simply standing in borrowed time to entertain the master's masses. It is difficult to stand in these spaces and be me, fully me. Code switching my vernacular to make you feel comfortable. Why must my life dress itself up in discomfort for you to feel at ease? Why must my hair look a certain way in these spaces? Why is my gender an issue in these spaces? Why does my skin feel so heavy in these spaces? You see, these are spaces I no longer want to reside in. I do not enjoy being in these spaces. I no longer want to subject myself to these spaces, but then I am reminded. As I stand in these spaces and I see the faces of these two little Black girls watching me perform in awe, because I'm a woman with kinky hair like them and skin that looks like theirs and lips that look like theirs, standing in these spaces, spaces that have been designed in ways that have spoken to them at an early age, reminding them, baby, some spaces just ain't for your kind. You see that? It's why I'm in these spaces, being a shout in these spaces. It is for every Black person that has ever entered a room and wondered, would anyone look like them in these spaces? It is for every LGBTQ person that has wondered, could they safely be themselves in these spaces? It is for every woman that has stood at the head of a boardroom table wondering, would she be considered equal in these spaces? It is for every Muslim woman that has wondered, could she wear her hijab in these spaces? You see, I remember those that stood in spaces not made for them, that marched on roads not paved for them, that sat down on seats in buses not earmarked for them, that sat down at counters and endured the humiliation of sitting in spaces so that one day I too could stand in these spaces. You see, that is why I'm in these spaces. It is for everyone that came before me, that sipped water at the colored only fountain, that marched into integrated schools and knew they would be just one of 9. It is for every Black performer that stood on stages so that one day little Black kids could know that they too could stand on stages. It is for my mother that stood in the space of a cotton field picking cotton for 80 cents a day. It is for everyone that will come after me, for them to know that they have a right to be in these spaces, to have a seat at the table, in these spaces, to have a voice, in these spaces, to have influence, in these spaces. You see, that is why I stand in these spaces, even when it makes me uncomfortable. And now some of you sit looking at me, and now you feel uncomfortable. But today you have heard me. You cannot unsee me. In this space, I belong. In this space, we are here, and we belong here in this space. Thank you. And next, I will perform Dawn. This has become, just real quickly, one of my favorite pieces dealing with COVID and certainly dealing with all of the racial uprising that we have certainly had in our city and this nation. I didn't know when I wrote the poem that it would pertain to so much going on today, but as this show comes to a conclusion, I think it is fitting to go out with this piece of poetry as we think about what world we are challenging ourselves to create. So this piece is called Dawn. Dawn, the first appearance of light, the beginning, birth, inception, and genesis. Dawn, an emergence, an appearance, an arrival, to begin, to start, to be born, to appear, to rise, to arrive, to break, to unfold, to develop, to become evident to the mind, be perceived or understood. Every day that we awake, it is a new dawn, a chance to start over. Every day that we awake, it is a chance to begin again, to birth something new, Every day we get a day to show patience and to love. Every day that we awaken is a chance to offer forgiveness, to understand, to try, to heal, to lose ourselves to find ourselves, to dream and to dance, to believe, to show compassion, to give, to say I'm sorry, to breathe, to exhale, to take it all in and dare to take a chance. What is your dawn? And what is your new day? What awaits you on the horizon of change? You see, hope begins in the dark. It is the stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, then the dawn will come. So you wait and you watch and you work and you don't give up. What could we be if we weren't afraid? And what could we become if we loved? If we embraced our differences? If we celebrated our uniqueness? If we chose to disregard our fear and love anyway? What could we be? And what could we accomplish? How high could we soar? Didn't you ever dream of flying? If you hold my hand, then together we can. Nothing would be impossible if we stood together. A new day awaits us, and all we have to do is rise and greet the dawn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for a powerful and incredible performance. I was gonna maybe come up in tears. Lots of snaps, Cooper, lots of snaps in the chat. She's just so incredible. My name is Charlene Buckles. I'm the Development Director here at the ACLU of Kentucky. Thank you so much for being here today and for joining us, dancing with us. All of the chat has been amazing, and I'm just so glad you all are here. As you all have heard today, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We are able to keep fighting because of the dedicated staff, the volunteers, allies, and supporters like you all. So please consider making a donation using the link in the chat, and join us and fight back for reproductive rights here in Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. And I hope you all continue to put more snaps down for Hannah. Thank you so very much, Hannah. I don't know about you all, but I definitely agree that Dawn was definitely not only a great way to not only end our time together, but a great way for us to think about how we are going to wake up every day with a new dawn ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. Thank you to each of you for joining us tonight. This was our first virtual event, so thank you. I want to give all of you all a round of applause for staying in there and hanging in there with us tonight. While we look forward to the day that we are physically together again, we created this space, this special gathering for us to be together tonight. Don't forget to visit the link in the chat to make a gift toward our reproductive work. Follow us on our website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the socials to stay up to date on our latest cases and actions. We want to give another special round of applause to Appalatin. Please visit Appalatin.com to get information about their educational programs and more. Thank you, Tytianna Wells. Everybody, please go visit honeytreepublishingus.com to purchase her books and watch her storytime videos. Thank you. We are so grateful for Tyrone Cotton for joining us tonight. More claps for him. You can visit TyroneCotton.com to hear his music and follow the progress for his new album that he's working on. Everybody, don't forget about that. And a last thank you to Hannah Drake. She says she writes to shake the nation, and she definitely shook our hearts tonight. Read her writing, watch her videos of her poetry on her website, hannahLdrake.com. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Truly, we cannot thank you enough. Thank you to our sponsors who made this possible. We hope that you all stay in good health, and we look forward to seeing you all in 2021. Have a good night, everybody. See ya.